Brian Jackson, a millionaire with a heart as cold as his fancy suits, froze in the middle of the busy city street. His shiny shoes stopped clicking. His eyes locked on a woman sitting on the dirty sidewalk, her clothes torn, her face tired. Two little girls, twins with messy hair, clung to her, shivering in the cold. People walked by, ignoring them, but Brian couldn't move. He knew her. That was Latricia Willis, his childhood crush, begging for coins with her daughters. How did she end up like this? Before I continue, let us know where you are watching from. Brian's mind spun like a movie reel. Years ago, when they were kids, Latricia's laugh lit up the playground. She was kind, smart, and always shared her snacks. Brian had a huge crush on her but was too shy to say it. Then life happened. He got rich, built a big company, and forgot about the old days. But seeing Latricia now, with her twins, Sarah and Sandra, broke something inside him. He couldn't just walk away. "Latricia," he said softly, kneeling beside her. Her eyes widened, then filled with shame. "Brian? Oh no, please don't look at me like this." "Who are these girls?" he asked, looking at the twins. "My daughters," she whispered. "Sarah and Sandra. We don't have anywhere to go." Brian's heart twisted. He wasn't the warmest guy, but he couldn't leave them here. "Come with me," he said. "I'm helping you. No arguments." Latricia shook her head. "We're fine. I don't need pity." "It's not pity," Brian said firmly. "It's what's right." Before Latricia could say no again, Brian scooped up the twins, who giggled despite their fear. He led them to his sleek black car and drove them to his mansion. The girls' eyes grew big as they saw the huge house with chandeliers and soft carpets. Latricia looked nervous, like she didn't belong. Inside, Brian's housekeeper, Mrs. Clara, made hot cocoa for the girls. Sarah and Sandra sipped it, smiling for the first time that day. Brian sat with Latricia in the warm living room. "Tell me what happened," he said gently. Latricia's voice shook. "After high school, I met Eric Miller. He was charming, at first. We got married, and I got pregnant with the twins. But then he changed. He left me when I was pregnant, took all our money, and never came back. I've been alone, trying to keep my girls safe. It's been so hard." Brian clenched his fists. He didn't know Eric, but he hated him already. "You're not alone anymore," he said. "You and the girls are staying here. I'll help you get back on your feet." The next few weeks were like a dream for Latricia. Brian bought the twins new clothes and toys. He enrolled them in a good school. He even signed Latricia up for business classes so she could learn new skills. At his company, he gave her a job answering phones. It wasn't fancy, but it was a start. Latricia felt hope for the first time in years. Brian loved spending time with Sarah and Sandra. They called him Mr. B and drew him pictures. He wasn't used to kids, but their giggles warmed his cold heart. And Latricia, she was still the kind, strong person he remembered. He started to feel something new, something more than just wanting to help. But one day, Latricia found a strange note slipped under her bedroom door. It was written in messy handwriting, "Don't trust Brian Jackson. He's hiding something." Her stomach dropped. Was Brian too good to be true? She remembered Eric's lies and how they broke her. Could she trust Brian, or was he hiding a secret that could hurt her and the girls? Latricia didn't tell Brian about the note. She wanted to trust him, but the words stuck in her mind. One evening, while Brian played tag with the twins in the garden, Latricia's phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number, "Meet me at the park tonight. You deserve the truth. E. Could it be Eric, her ex-husband? Latricia's heart raced. She hadn't seen him in years. Part of her wanted to ignore it, but another part needed answers. Why did he leave? Was he behind the note? She told Mrs. Clara she was going for a walk and slipped out. At the dark, quiet park, a man stepped from the shadows. It was Eric, older but still with that sly smile. "Latricia," he said, "you look good. I hear you're living with that rich guy now." "What do you want, Eric?" she snapped. "You left us. You don't get to come back." "I made mistakes," he said, stepping closer. "But I know things about Brian. He's not who you think. Let me tell you." Suddenly, headlights flashed. A car screeched to a stop. Brian jumped out, his face pale. "Latricia, get away from him," he shouted. Latricia froze, caught between her past and her future. Was Eric telling the truth? Was Brian hiding something? And who sent that mysterious note? Latricia's heart pounded as she stood in the dark park, caught between Eric's sly grin and Brian's worried eyes. The cold night air made her shiver. "What's going on?" she demanded, her voice shaking. "Brian, why are you here?" Brian stepped closer, his hands raised like he was trying to calm a scared animal. "I saw you leave the house, Latricia. I got worried. When Mrs. Clara said you were gone, I tracked your phone. I'm sorry, but I had a bad feeling." He glared at Eric. "And I was right. What's he doing here?" Eric laughed, a mean sound that made Latricia's stomach twist. "Oh, rich boys playing hero now? Latricia, you don't know this guy. He's got secrets. Big ones." "Stop it, Eric." Latricia snapped. She turned to Brian, searching his face. "Is it true? Are you hiding something? I got a note, it said not to trust you." Brian's face fell. "A note? Latricia, I swear, I'm not hiding anything that would hurt you or the girls. I care about you. All of you." Eric smirked. "That's what he says now. Ask him about his company. Ask him why he's so eager to play daddy to the kids." Latricia's mind spun. She wanted to believe Brian, but Eric's words dug into her old wounds. She'd trusted Eric once, and he'd left her with nothing. Could she trust Brian? "Enough," Brian said, stepping between Latricia and Eric. "You abandoned her, Miller. You don't get to come back and mess with her head. Leave. Now." Eric's smile faded, but he didn't move. "Or what, Jackson? You'll throw money at me? That's all you're good for?" Latricia's hands clenched into fists. She was tired of being caught in the middle. "Eric, tell me what you know, or get out of my life for good." Eric leaned in, his voice low. "You're perfect, Brian. His company's not as clean as you think. There's a shady deal he's working on. People could get hurt. And you and the girls? You're just his feel-good project to look like a saint." Latricia's breath caught. She looked at Brian, waiting for him to deny it. But Brian's face was tight, like he was holding something back. "Brian," she whispered. "Is there a deal? Tell me the truth." Brian ran a hand through his hair, looking torn. "There's a business deal. It's complicated. But I promise, Latricia, it's not what he's making it sound like. I'd never hurt anyone. And you and the girls? You're not a project. You're family to me." His words were warm, but Latricia's heart felt heavy. Why didn't he explain the deal? What was he keeping from her? Before she could ask more, Eric laughed again. "See? He's dodging. Wake up, Latricia. He's using you." Brian's eyes flashed with anger. "That's it. I'm done with you." He pulled out his phone. "I'm calling the police. You're trespassing, and you're harassing her." Eric's face hardened. For a second, Latricia thought he might lunge at Brian. But then he backed away, hands up. Fine. I'm gone. But Latricia, when it all falls apart, don't say I didn't warn you. He slipped into the shadows and disappeared. The ride back to the mansion was silent. Latricia stared out the car window, her mind racing. Brian kept glancing at her, like he wanted to say something, but he stayed quiet. When they got home, the twins were asleep, curled up with Mrs. Clara in the living room. Latricia tucked them into bed, kissing their foreheads. They were her world, and she'd do anything to protect them. In the hallway, Brian finally spoke. Latricia, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you. I couldn't let him hurt you again. She crossed her arms. Brian, I want to trust you. You've been so good to us. But that note, and now Eric. I need to know what's going on with your company. No secrets. Brian nodded, his eyes serious. I'll tell you everything. Tomorrow, I'll show you the deal papers. It's not shady, I swear. It's just sensitive. I didn't want to worry you. Latricia wanted to believe him, but doubt lingered like a shadow. Okay. Tomorrow. The next morning, Latricia woke to find Sarah and Sandra giggling in the kitchen, eating pancakes with Brian. He was making funny faces, and the girls were laughing so hard they almost spilled their juice. Seeing them happy made Latricia's heart ache with hope and fear. What if Eric was right? What if Brian wasn't who he seemed? As she helped clean up, Latricia noticed something strange. Tucked behind a vase on the counter was a crumpled piece of paper. She picked it up and unfolded it. Her breath stopped. It was another note, in the same messy handwriting as before. Check Brian's office. The truth is in his files. Her hands shook. Someone was watching them. Someone wanted her to doubt Brian. But who? Was it Eric, playing a cruel game? Or was there something Brian was hiding after all? She glanced at Brian, who was wiping syrup off Sandra's cheek, laughing. He looked so kind, so real. But the note burned in her hand. Should she confront him now? Or sneak into his office and find out for herself? Latricia's fingers tightened around the crumpled note. Her heart raced like a drum. Brian was still laughing with the twins, oblivious to the storm in her mind. The note's words, check Brian's office. The truth is in his files, felt like a dare. She wanted to trust Brian, but the mysterious messages and Eric's warnings gnawed at her. She needed answers. While Brian helped Sarah and Sandra finish their pancakes, Latricia slipped the note into her pocket. I'm going to grab some water, she said, her voice steadier than she felt. Brian smiled and nodded, not noticing the worry in her eyes. In the hallway, Latricia paused. Brian's office was upstairs, behind a heavy wooden door. She'd never been inside, it was his private space, and she'd respected that. But now, doubt pushed her forward. If Brian was telling the truth, there'd be nothing to find. If he wasn't, she had to know. She crept upstairs, her sneakers silent on the plush carpet. The mansion was quiet, except for the faint giggles of the twins downstairs. At the office door, she hesitated. What if Brian caught her? What if she found something that broke her trust forever? But the note's words echoed, and she turned the knob. The door was unlocked. The office smelled of leather and paper. A big desk sat in the middle, covered with neat stacks of files. Shelves lined the walls, filled with books and awards. Latricia's stomach twisted, she felt like a thief. But she shut the door softly and started searching. She flipped through folders on the desk, her hands shaking. Most were boring charts, numbers, business stuff she didn't understand. Then, in a drawer, she found a thick file labeled Project Horizon. Her breath caught. Eric had mentioned a shady deal. Could this be it? She opened the file. Inside were emails, contracts, and maps of a neighborhood she recognized. It was near the city's poorest area, where she'd been homeless. One email caught her eye, from someone named T. Carver. Brian, push the deal through fast. The community won't like it, but profit's worth it. Latricia's heart sank. Was Brian planning to hurt people for money? She kept reading, but the words blurred as her fear grew. Then she heard footsteps. Latricia? Brian's voice came from the hallway. You up here? Panic hit her. She shoved the file back into the drawer and closed it just as the door opened. Brian stood there, his smile fading when he saw her. What are you doing in here? He asked, his voice gentle but confused. Latricia's mouth went dry. Should she lie? Confront him? The note in her pocket felt like it was burning. I was looking for a pen, she stammered. Brian's eyes narrowed slightly, like he didn't quite believe her. A pen? In my office? He stepped closer, and Latricia's heart pounded. Latricia, what's wrong? You've been acting strange since last night. Latricia's mind raced. She could keep the note a secret and pretend everything was fine. But the file, Eric's warnings, and her own doubts were too heavy. She pulled the note from her pocket and held it out. I found this. It's not the first one. Someone's telling me not to trust you, Brian. And now I find a file about some deal, Project Horizon. Are you hiding something? Brian's face went pale. He took the note, his eyes scanning the messy handwriting. Another one, he muttered. Then he looked at her, his expression serious. Latricia, I promised I'd tell you about the deal. I was going to show you today. Project Horizon isn't shady, it's a plan to rebuild a poor neighborhood, give people homes and jobs. But it's complicated. Some people don't want change, and others, they're trying to twist it for their own gain. Then why didn't you tell me? Latricia's voice cracked. Why is it a secret? And who's T. Carver? Brian sighed, running a hand through his hair. Carver's a business partner. He's pushy, and I don't always agree with him. I didn't tell you because I didn't want you to worry while you're rebuilding your life. But I swear, I'm trying to do good. Latricia wanted to believe him, but the notes and Eric's words made her head spin. Then who's sending these notes? Is it Eric? Or someone else? Brian's jaw tightened. I don't know. But I'll find out. I'll hire someone to trace the notes. Whoever's doing this, they're trying to scare you. And I won't let that happen. Before Latricia could respond, her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out, her hands still shaky. It was a text from an unknown number. You looked in the office. Good. But you're not safe. Leave the mansion tonight. Latricia's blood ran cold. She showed Brian the text, her voice barely a whisper. They're watching me. They know I was in here. Brian's face hardened. He grabbed his phone and called his security team. Lock down the house. Someone's targeting Latricia. Then he turned to her, his eyes fierce but kind. You and the girls are safe with me. I promise. But we need to figure out who's behind this fast. Downstairs, Sarah and Sandra's laughter echoed, innocent and unaware. Latricia's heart ached. She wanted to protect her daughters, but danger was closing in. Was it Eric, playing a cruel game? Was it Carver, the business partner? Or was there someone else, someone closer, pulling the strings? Latricia clutched her phone, the threatening text, "You're not safe. Leave the mansion tonight," burning in her mind. Brian's security team swept through the mansion, checking doors and windows. The twins, Sarah and Sandra, sensed the tension and stopped giggling, their big eyes watching Latricia. She forced a smile, kneeling to hug them. "Everything's okay, my loves. Just stay close to me. Brian paced the living room, his phone pressed to his ear. I want cameras checked, every inch of the property, he told his head of security. And find out where that text came from. Now. He hung up and turned to Latricia, his face tight with worry. I'm so sorry, Latricia. I never wanted you to feel scared here. Who's doing this, Brian? She asked, her voice low so the twins wouldn't hear. Eric? Your partner, Carver? Or someone we don't even know? Brian shook his head. I don't know yet, but I'll find out. For now, you and the girls are staying in the guest wing. It's the most secure part of the house. I'm not taking chances. Latricia nodded. The mansion, once a warm haven, now felt like a trap. Someone was watching her every move. She glanced at the twins, who were drawing pictures at the coffee table. She'd do anything to keep them safe, even if it meant leaving Brian's world behind. That night, Latricia couldn't sleep. The guest wing was cozy, with soft beds for her and the twins, but every creak of the house made her jump. Sarah and Sandra slept soundly, their little hands curled together. Latricia sat by the window, staring at the moonlit garden. Her phone buzzed, making her heart leap. Another text from the unknown number, look outside. By the fountain. You'll see. Latricia's breath hitched. She should tell Brian or security, but what if this was her chance to catch the person behind the notes? She glanced at the twins, safe in their beds, and made a quick decision. She slipped on a jacket, grabbed a flashlight from the bedside table, and tiptoed out, locking the door behind her. The garden was eerie in the dark, the fountain's water glinting under the moonlight. Latricia's flashlight beam danced across the grass as she crept forward, her heart pounding. She reached the fountain and froze. There, tucked into a crack in the stone, was another note. Her hands shook as she unfolded it. Brian's lying about Project Horizon. It's not about helping. It's about control. Ask him about the relocation plan. Relocation plan? Latricia's mind raced. Was Brian's deal forcing people out of their homes? Before she could think, a shadow moved behind a tree. Who's there? She called, her voice sharp. No answer. The shadow vanished. Latricia's pulse thundered. She backed toward the house, clutching the note. Someone was out there, playing games with her. Back inside, Latricia found Brian in the kitchen, sipping coffee with tired eyes. He stood when he saw her. Latricia? Why are you up? Where were you? She held up the note, her fear turning to anger. I found this by the fountain. Another message, Brian. It says you're lying about Project Horizon. Something about a relocation plan. What aren't you telling me? Brian's face darkened as he read the note. This is getting out of hand, he muttered. He looked at her, his eyes pleading. Latricia, I swear, Project Horizon is about building homes, not taking them away. The relocation plan is temporary, moving a few families to better housing while we rebuild. It's not control, it's care. Someone's twisting the truth to scare you. Then who? Latricia snapped. And why do they know my every move? Someone was outside, Brian. I saw them. Brian's jaw clenched. That's it. I'm doubling security. And I'm calling my lawyer tomorrow to dig into Carver. He's been pushing me to speed up the deal, and I don't trust him. Maybe he's behind this. Latricia wanted to believe him, but the notes were piling up, and each one chipped away at her trust. Brian, I can't keep living like this. The girls, they're my everything. If this isn't safe, I have to leave. Brian's face crumpled. Please, Latricia. Don't go. I care about you. More than you know. Let me fix this. His words softened her heart, but fear still gripped her. She thought of the twins, of Eric's cruel smile, of the shadow in the garden. The next morning, Latricia took the twins to their new school to keep things normal. When she returned, Brian was in his office, papers spread across his desk. He looked up, his face grim. "I found something," he said. "An email from Carver to a private investigator. He's been digging into your past, Latricia. I think he's the one sending the notes, trying to drive a wedge between us." Latricia's blood ran cold. "Why? What does he want?" Brian hesitated. "I think he wants control of Project Horizon. If he scares you away, he can push me to make decisions that favor profit over people. He knows how much you and the girls mean to me." Latricia's heart skipped. Brian's care for her was clear, but the idea of someone targeting her to manipulate him was terrifying. Before she could respond, Mrs. Clara burst in, her face pale. "Mr. Jackson, Latricia, there's a man at the gate. He says he's Eric Miller, and he's demanding to see you both. Security's holding him, but he's making a scene." Latricia's knees went weak. "Eric, here? After everything?" Brian grabbed her hand, his grip steady. "We'll face him together," he said. As they headed to the gate, Latricia's heart hammered as she and Brian approached the mansion's front gate. Eric stood there, his worn jacket flapping in the wind, arguing with two security guards. His eyes locked on Latricia, and a sly grin spread across his face. "There you are," he called. "Miss me, Tricia?" Brian stepped in front of her, his voice low and fierce. "What do you want, Miller? You've got no business here." Eric laughed, but it sounded forced. "Oh, I've got plenty of business. Latricia's my wife, and those girls are mine. You think you can play hero and steal my family?" Latricia's stomach twisted. "I'm not your wife anymore, Eric. You left us. You don't get to claim us now." Her voice shook, but she stood tall, clutching Brian's arm for strength. Eric's grin faded, his eyes narrowing. "You're making a mistake, Tricia. You don't know this guy. He's using you to look good while his company screws over poor people like us." Brian's fists clenched. "That's a lie, and you know it. Get off my property, or I'm calling the police." One of the guards stepped forward, but Eric held up a hand. "Wait. I've got proof." He pulled a crumpled envelope from his jacket and waved it. "Documents about your precious Project Horizon. It's not about helping people, it's about pushing them out. I got these from someone who knows the truth." Latricia's breath caught. She glanced at Brian, whose face was tight with anger and fear. "Brian, what's in that envelope?" she asked quietly. "I don't know," Brian said, his voice steady but strained. "But I'm done with games. Hand it over, Miller." Eric smirked and tossed the envelope at Brian's feet. "Read it and weep, rich boy." Brian picked up the envelope, his hand steady despite the tension. Latricia leaned close as he opened it, pulling out a stack of papers. Her eyes scanned the top page, memo with Brian's company logo, marked confidential. It outlined plans for Project Horizon, including a section on relocation incentives for families in the targeted neighborhood. The language was cold, talking about cost efficiency and minimizing resistance. Latricia's heart sank. "Brian, this doesn't sound like helping people. It sounds like pushing them out." Brian's jaw tightened as he read further. "This isn't the plan I approved," he muttered. "Someone's altered it. Carver, he's been pushing for cheaper options behind my back." He looked at Latricia, his eyes pleading. "I swear, Latricia, my goal was to build homes, not destroy them. I'll fix this." Eric snorted. "Too late, Jackson. I've already sent copies to the local news. By tomorrow, everyone will know you're a fraud." Latricia's head spun. Before she could speak, Brian turned to the guards. Take him to the security office. Hold him until I figure this out. The guards grabbed Eric, who struggled and shouted, "You'll regret this, Trisha. I'm trying to save you." As they dragged him away, Latricia's knees felt weak. Brian put an arm around her. "I'm sorry," he said softly. "I should have been more open about the project. I'll make this right, for you and the girls." Latricia wanted to believe him, but doubt clung to her like a shadow. "Brian, I need the whole truth. No more secrets." He nodded. "Tonight, I'll show you every file, every email. We'll figure out who's behind this together." Back in the mansion, Latricia checked on Sarah and Sandra, who were playing with Mrs. Clara in the living room. Their giggles eased her fear, but only a little. She sat with Brian in his office, papers spread across the desk. He explained Project Horizon in detail, his dream to rebuild the neighborhood, the resistance from some partners, and Carver's push for profit over people. "I trusted Carver too much," Brian admitted, his voice heavy. "I thought he shared my vision, but he's been working against me. And these notes, the texts. I think he's using Eric to scare you away, to weaken me." Latricia's heart softened at his honesty, but fear lingered. "Brian, if Carver's this dangerous, what else could he do? And what about Eric? Why is he helping Carver?" Brian shook his head. "I don't know. But I've got my lawyer and a private investigator on it. We'll find out." As they talked, Brian reached for her hand. His touch was warm, steady. "Latricia, I care about you and the girls. More than anything. I know trust is hard after everything, but I'm not giving up on us." Latricia's eyes stung with tears. She wanted to trust him, to believe in this new life. But the threat was still out there, and Eric's words echoed, "You'll regret this." Late that night, after the twins were asleep, Latricia's phone buzzed again. Her heart stopped as she read the text from the unknown number. "Eric's not the problem. Carver's not alone. Check the basement. Now." Latricia's hands trembled. The basement? She'd never been down there, it was just storage, or so Brian said. She glanced at Brian, who was reviewing files at his desk. Should she tell him about the text? Or go alone to find the truth? The mansion felt like it was holding its breath, waiting for her next move. Latricia stared at the text, "Check the basement." Now, her heart pounding like a drum. The mansion was quiet, the twins asleep, and Brian sat at his desk, buried in files. She wanted to trust him, but the mysterious messages had led her this far. If the truth was in the basement, she had to find it, for her girls, for herself. "Brian, I'm going to check on the twins," she said, her voice steady despite her fear. He nodded, distracted, not noticing the phone clutched in her hand. Latricia slipped out of the office and headed downstairs, her sneakers silent on the polished floor. The basement door was in a dim hallway, tucked behind a heavy curtain. She'd never noticed it before. Her hand hesitated on the knob, the cold metal sending a shiver through her. What if this was a trap? But she couldn't turn back now. She opened the door, and a musty smell hit her. The stairs creaked as she descended, her flashlight beam cutting through the dark. At the bottom, the basement was a maze of boxes and old furniture. Latricia's light landed on a metal filing cabinet in the corner, its lock glinting. Her gut told her this was it. She tugged at the drawers, but they were locked. Then she spotted a small key taped under the cabinet's edge, as if left for her. Her hands shook as she unlocked the top drawer and pulled out a folder labeled Horizon, Confidential. Inside were emails, bank records, and a handwritten list of names. One email, from T. Carver to an unknown address, read, "Jackson's too soft. Use Miller to stir trouble. If he's distracted, we control the project." Asterisk. Another document showed payments to Eric Miller, thousands of dollars. Latricia's blood ran cold. Carver was paying Eric to sabotage Brian, and the notes were part of the plan. But there was more, a list of properties marked for demolition, including homes of families who'd refused to move. Brian had said the relocations were temporary, but this looked like betrayal. A noise behind her made her jump. She spun, flashlight shaking, and saw Brian at the foot of the stairs, his face pale. "Latricia? What are you doing down here?" Latricia held up the folder, her voice trembling. "I got another text, Brian. It led me here. This says you're demolishing homes, not rebuilding. And Carver's paying Eric to ruin you. Tell me you didn't know." Brian's eyes widened as he took the folder, scanning the pages. His face hardened. "I didn't know about this. Carver's been forging my approvals, going behind my back. I trusted him, Latricia. I swear, I thought we were helping people." She wanted to believe him, but the evidence was crushing. "Then why's your name on these papers? Why didn't you see what Carver was doing?" Brian's shoulders slumped. "I was blind. I was so focused on you, the girls, fixing things. I missed the signs. But I'll stop this. I'll fire Carver, cancel the deal, and make it right." Latricia's heart wavered. His eyes were honest, but trust was fragile. Before she could speak, a loud crash echoed upstairs, followed by Mrs. Clara's scream. Brian grabbed Latricia's hand. They raced upstairs to find the living room in chaos. A window was shattered, glass everywhere. Mrs. Clara clutched Sarah and Sandra, who were crying. A brick lay on the floor, a note tied to it, "Last warning. Get out." Brian's face turned to steel. "That's it. I'm ending this now." He called his security team and the police, then turned to Latricia. "Take the girls to the guest wing. Lock the door. I'm handling this." The police arrived quickly, and security footage showed a man in a hoodie throwing the brick. Brian's investigator traced the texts and payments, confirming Carver's scheme. Eric, it turned out, was a pawn, paid to stir trouble but not the mastermind. Carver had hired a private investigator to watch Latricia, planting notes to break her trust in Brian. Brian confronted Carver at his office the next day, Latricia by his side. Carver, a smug man in a slick suit, didn't deny it. "You're too weak, Jackson," he sneered. "Horizon could have made us millions, but you wanted to play savior. I just sped things up." "You're done," Brian said, his voice cold. "The police have everything. You're not walking away from this." Carver's smirk faded as officers stepped in, cuffing him. Latricia watched, her fear easing but not gone. Eric was still out there. Over the next weeks, Brian dismantled Project Horizon's corrupt parts. He met with the neighborhood families, promising fair relocations and new homes. Latricia helped, using her business classes to organize community meetings. The twins, sensing the change, started laughing again, their drawings now full of bright colors. One evening, Brian took Latricia to the garden, where fairy lights twinkled around the fountain. "I know I messed up," he said, his voice soft. "I should have been honest from the start. But you and the girls, you're my family. I love you, Latricia. Will you marry me?" Latricia's heart swelled. She'd faced her past, confronted Eric one last time through a restraining order, and found closure. Brian's love had been steady, even through her doubts. "Yes," she whispered, tears falling as he slipped a ring on her finger. Their wedding was small but joyful, with Sarah and Sandra tossing flowers and Mrs. Clara crying happily. Latricia felt whole, her trust in Brian rebuilt through his actions. Months later, Latricia sat in the mansion's sunny kitchen, her hands on her belly. She was pregnant, a boy, the doctor said. Brian, now a doting husband, fussed over her, especially when she felt tired. The pregnancy wasn't easy, a scare at 6 months sent them to the hospital, but their love carried them through. As Latricia watched Sarah and Sandra play in the garden, Brian wrapped his arms around her. "We made it," he said, kissing her forehead. "We're a family." But as they smiled, Latricia's phone buzzed on the counter. She glanced at it, expecting a friend's message. Instead, it was an unknown number. "Congratulations. But I'm not done. Eve." Latricia's breath caught. Eric was gone, wasn't he? She showed Brian, whose face darkened. "We'll handle it," he said, pulling her close. Together. The threat lingered a shadow on their joy. But Latricia knew they were stronger now, her, Brian, the girls, and their unborn son. Whatever came next, they'd face it as a family.